Well, thank you for your excellent testimony and for unpacking some of the delicate dilemmas that present itself in trying to stand with something that is very important without interfering with its eventual positive outcome. In that regard, I want to tell you all that many of us discussed behind the scenes when the opposition movement first appeared as to what the proper response would be, trying to determine this line between prudence and risk-taking, not trying to do something in support of the opposition movement that would actually undermine it by giving a pretext for its crackdown by the government. And so I chose prudence. I chose to remain quiet because I thought until we had a better understanding of the resiliency, the depth, the passion, the willingness to sacrifice, the continuity of this potential movement, that given the past history with the United States, we could inadvertently lead to its crushing. It's different now. I think that we as an international community with one collective voice need to shout from the hills the Iranian people's right for autonomy and their right to protest and their right to seek a more just form of governance. And so I think this hearing is part of that speaking out, Mr. Chairman. And with that said, that touches upon some of what your concerns were, Mr. Carpenter, in trying to determine when is the appropriate time to speak and speak loudly. And even if it gave further pretext, as you're suggesting, we're already being blamed. I've heard that. So what harm can come from it? But with that said, Dr. Gadar, you said there's three outcomes, possible outcomes. I want you to assign a probability to those possible outcomes. One, that the movement is crushed. Two, that it finds some common ground, some compromise for its accommodation with the current governmental structures. Or three, it results in a paradigm shift in the form of governance in Iran. Because this comes back to that point as to what to do as well as when to do it. Assign a probability.
That's a very difficult thing to do, but I'll be glad to give you my biased point of view.
I'd prefer you do it than me.
Okay. I think the likelihood of the Revolutionary Guards beating up on everybody is quite high coming February 11th, but that's not going to basically dissipate the problem. So I think I would give that a low probability, 10, 15, 20%. I think the probability of the demise of the regime is highly optimistic. I don't think they're going to just walk away. So the bulk of the probability, maybe 60 to 65, 70%, is going to be some kind of compromise. These guys are all in cahoots together, with all due respect to Mousavi, Karoubi, Khamenei, Rafsanjani. They're all basically have the same roots. The opposition in the streets are ahead of all of them. So therefore, the compromise will be made among them behind closed doors. How it will be done, I don't know.
What will the potential, if you agree to that level of probability for that outcome, what will this compromise structure look like? Would anybody have any insight into that?
I'm sorry, Congressman. I think there's going to be a reduction in the influence of the Supreme Leader. I think there will be additional opposition members in the Parliament. And I think that Mr. Rafsanjani will play a more active role as a mediator.
Now, it's my understanding. Go ahead, Mr.
For the same reason Dr. Gadar mentioned, I think that the compromise won't happen. The relationship between Green leaders and the government is like the relationship between Iran and United States. There is a mutual distrust. When Iran is powerful, doesn't want to compromise. When they are weak, they don't want to compromise. That's the situation exactly now with the Green Movement and the government.
I understood this point as well, that what started out as opposition to what was considered to be a fraudulent election has now matured and moved way beyond that.
Exactly.
Tapping into a root of opposition that has been festering, not festering, organically growing for a long time because of all of the abuses. I think I'm done, Mr. Chairman.
Thank you. There are votes that are being called momentarily on the floor. If we all keep